Welcome back to the Newblood, and looking forward to seeing what shocks and surprises we get in today's heat. So let's head to the Battleboard and check it out. One of the less colourful heats, I think, in the competition, but it's bound to be a banger nonetheless. Glass Eye with the spinning flywheel, looking like a knockoff Hypnodisc against the spinning flywheel of Mechavour. Peace and Rife with their own spinning blade against the lifting spikes of Gothic Infrastructure. Black and Blue with the powerful swinging hammer up against the control bot Bucky the Rebooted and the gnawing teeth. And Force with the lifting arm that can double as a rear axe against the tank of Conqueror 10 and the rotating turret with whatever else the thing does. Now let the wars begin! Glass Eye! Spinner! Doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure out who inspired this build. However, the team claims that this machine is deadlier. We'll see about that. The spinning eye flywheel is very dangerous, and the machine is pretty quick. However, unlike Hypnodisc, there's no Shremek. Mechavour! Spinner! Don't let their newcomer status fool you. They have plenty of combat experience from their time on Battlebots. The flywheel is actually made of 2 discs, and it's actually extremely effective. The drive is also very good too, but the wheels are exposed, leaving it vulnerable to attacks, and it's questionable on if and how effective it can drive upside down.
Robot ears, stand by.
Glass Eye with their eyeball flywheel, looking like a knockoff Hypnodisc. And Battlebot's competitor Mechavour with their own flywheel. This is going to be interesting, I think.
3, 2, 1, activate!
As well as very destructive, with 2 flywheels colliding. Although Glass Eye colliding with the wall isn't smart, and getting stuck on the spike isn't helping. And from the looks of it, Glass Eye seems to be taking the worst brunt than Mechavour. Mechavour stuck on the wall. Free now. Can Glass Eye take advantage of the wheel on the floor? And I think that's what's happening. And Glass Eye has lost drive. There's no real control in them colliding with the wall. And driving into the pit. Well, that is a bit of a shame. I don't think Glass Eye really stood much of a chance in this fight against Mechavour. I really don't. Mechavour had dominance right from the start. Well done, Mechavour. Showcasing why they were a lethal force to be reckoned with in the old Battlebots show. As they go on through, next up, Peace and Riot and Gothic Infrastructure. Peace and Riot! Spinner! A low front wedge leading to a big lethal blade with a very strong drive. A very impressive looking newcomer that could seriously do well in this competition. Flipping it doesn't seem all that easy either, but the sides are the most vulnerable part of the machine, which is good if you have either a flipper or a spinner. Gothic Infrastructure! Lifter! Built to resemble a dark church in a graveyard with 2 obelisk-shaped lifting spikes which also have the power to right them back onto their wheels. The machine's armor is also fairly durable, meaning it'll take the spinning attacks with no trouble at all, but the sides and rear are vulnerable for attack, and the weapon can also cause them issues. That sounds less like an issue and more like a design flaw.
Robot ears, stand by.
Peace and Riot with their lethal spinning blade and Gothic Infrastructure with their 2 lifting spiked stakes, and I feel like are a little bit outclassed here.
3, 2, 1, activate!
Don't forget how Peace and Riot did in the main competition. They were very dangerous, very lethal. Gothic Infrastructure gave us a few surprises of its own, but only getting out of the pit. I'm not out of the pit, out of the arena! Well, look at that! And Gothic Infrastructure suffering the same problem they did in the fight with Endgame. Look at this! There's the attack! The backside! And the machine catches fire, the weapons separate, the wheels separate, and Peace and Riot very easily get the victory, and down the pit goes Gothic Infrastructure! Well done, Peace and Riot! That's the end! Well, so much you can really say there, and the camera's starting to shake. Is that what happens when Gothic infrastructure just blows up or something? What? Why does it shake when they just combust? Why is this... You know what? Forget it. Pushing right through. Next up, Black and Blue and Bucky the Rebooted. Black and Blue. Axebot. A pyramid design with 2 spikes on the sides and a big hammer that swings both forwards and backwards. Not the heaviest machine of the competition, only 100 kilos. The machine can right itself with the hammer, and the spikes help prevent the machine from being stuck on its sides. But the weird thing is that the hammer can actually cause the machine to topple itself over. Bucky the Rebooted. Control Bot. The gnawing teeth will grab hold of the opposition to drag them around and even towards the pit where they'll eventually drop them. The teeth can also allegedly help the machine self-right, but the exposed wheels prove to be an issue for them in battle of the YouTubers on the main channel, and the rear is not well protected.
Robot ears, stand by.
Black and Blue. The pyramid design with the 2 spikes and the swinging sledgehammer. And Bucky the Rebooted with the clamping, gnawing teeth.
3, 2,
Interesting.
1. Activate.
Now, had great success. First time we saw them was in Battle of the YouTubers. They got torn apart a bit by IAF. And Black and Blue in trouble here because Bucky the Rebooted's got underneath them and are pinning them against the wall. And they can fire their hammer as much as they want. It's not really gonna help them all that much. Not as much as they think. Bucky the Rebooted pinning them against the wall. Now, Bucky, they can't keep them there, don't forget, because if they do, they will be disqualified. But in terms of aggression and control, this very much is going well for Bucky the Rebooted. Black and Blue now trying to get a hold, but they fire their hammer and it's caused them problems. And Bucky the Rebooted once again on top, pinning them against the wall, slamming them. The jaw not really doing much damage. I don't even think their jaw is doing much in terms of control, really. Black and Blue finally free and are pushing against... Oh! They're both in the pit! Who fell first? I didn't see. Was it Bucky the Rebooted? Was it Black and Blue? I don't know. Hang on, I'm being really investigated by the judges. And they're telling me they don't know. They've requested for a rematch. Let's go.
Robot ears, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Not very often we get rematches, but this series we've seen a lot more of them. It has to be said, and right now, Black and Blue taking advantage, getting on top and dropping that big swinging hammer down on Bucky and trapping them on their side. And Bucky the Rebooted cannot right themselves. They can't from that angle. If they can get back, can they get back onto their front? Yes, with a little help from Black and Blue. But Black and Blue once again getting underneath Bucky the Rebooted, but now Bucky the Rebooted doesn't need Black and Blue and are doing the same thing to them they did earlier, which is pinning them against the wall. Although they're not driving as quickly as we've seen earlier. Now Black and Blue trying to stop their arm, their jaw from rising. It didn't work. And now pinned against the wall again. Black and Blue definitely the quicker of the two. But I'm wondering if something is a bit different with Bucky the Rebooted. They seemed a lot quicker in the first part of this fight before their rematch. And now they seem almost slow. And Black and Blue being careful, not using their hammer, getting around at the sides to push Bucky the Rebooted around, and are doing that here, and almost have Bucky up and over. And interestingly, Black and Blue isn't even using the hammer, and now Black and Blue stuck on the spikes! The spikes have risen up, and Bucky very slowly walking away. Now those spikes should retract soon, but they're not, and I think there's a problem. I think they're immobilized here. I think the spikes are jammed, or there's something wrong with Black and Blue, because their hammer isn't firing. Their hammer would normally be able to get them away, but it's not firing. I think there is a problem with Black and Blue. I think Black and Blue's immobilized, and on that, it's Bucky the Rebooted going through. And there you have it, the confirmation. Black and Blue's out. Bucky the Rebooted, they're going through. Next up, Forced and Conqueror 10. Forced Lifter. A big, long lifting arm that doesn't actually run off CO2. How odd. The lifting arm can also double as an axe, attacking anyone from the rear, and it has a low wedge. But the sides are exposed, as well as the wheels. Conqueror 10. Thwackbot. A very interesting design based off of a tank from one of the World Wars, can't remember which. The barrel moves up and down, which honestly don't know what it's meant to do, and it spins around on a 360-degree turret. It's a very impressive build, it has to be said, but the tracks are heavily exposed and there is a major ground clearance issue. Plus, tanks don't have self-righting mechanisms.
Robot ears, stand by.
Forced, with their long, lifting arm that can actually be used as a rear axe-like weapon. And Conqueror 10, the tank with the rotating turret top.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Honestly, I don't really know how to describe that weapon, although Conqueror 10 does have one major weakness, and it's that! No self-righting mechanism, and Force took advantage! Very quickly as well! Already overturned! And Conqueror 10 about to go down the pit very quickly too. And one final nudge, down they go. That's the end of Conqueror 10. They're out. And it's Forced very effortlessly and very quickly going through to round 2. Well done, Forced. And commiserations to Conqueror 10. Even though they didn't even last 10 seconds. Conqueror 10 flipped up and over and crashed out of the competition. Forced effortlessly through to round 2. And speaking of, this is how it looks. Forced will be taking on Bucky the Rebooted. First, it's the attack of 2 blades, the spinning flywheel of Mechavore, and the spinning bar of Peace and Riot.
Robot ears, stand by.
Mechavore with their big flywheel, and Peace and Riot on a destructive road to the finals with their own lethal spinning blade.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Go.
Question of ground clearance and who can cause the most problems, and it'll be Peace and Riot have already thrown over Mechavore and are causing major problems to their drive, and Mechavore nearly in the pit! Oh no! Oh, that's a shame. Look at this, almost in the pit, and Peace and Riot, did you not see the pit there? I'm guessing not, because you're driven into the pit! I don't think Mechavore completely deserved this victory. In fact, had the pit not been there, Peace and Riot would be going through, but sadly, Peace and Riot's in the pit, and it's Mechavore who are going through. Next up, Bucky the Rebooted and Forced.
Robot ears, stand by.
Bucky the Rebooted, with their gnawing, clamping teeth and their front wedge, which was very effective against Black and Blue, and Forced, with their own little wedge, as well as their lifting arm, which can double up as an axe.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Didn't really struggle in that fight with Conqueror 10, did they? One flip was all it took, but now they're having to fight, and it's not going their way. Bucky dropping their clamping claw on them, pushing them into the wall. And is there something wrong with Force? Ooh, they're trying to flip over Bucky, but it's not happening. They're playing over the flames. Probably not the smartest idea, guys. I wouldn't be. Now they're back into the center of the arena. And Forced holding their own against Bucky, not letting Bucky get underneath them, which is being problems for Bucky the Rebooted. But now Bucky at the side, trying to overturn, but they're overturned themselves. And now soft rights. And now underneath Forced and pushing them towards the pit, and down they go. Well, a very good fight for the Bucky the Rebooted. Forced put up a good fight, but it wasn't enough. Down the pit they go. They are out. And it's Bucky the Rebooted joining Mechavore in the heat final. Well done, Bucky the Rebooted. An impressive display and a great show of control and power. Commiserations to Force as they crash into the pit. Not to see them again, but this is the heat final. The Battlebots machine Mechavore against Bucky the Rebooted. Why do I have a feeling I know how this is going to end? The heat final, and not exactly a heat final I thought was going to happen. Same with the one with Mutant Flare and Megalodon. We have Mechavore and Bucky the Rebooted. Quick recap how they got here. Mechavore took on Glass Eye, and Glass Eye took the brunt of the attacks. The wheels shredded, ripped away. In the end, one wheel left, no real drive. Collided with the pit. And then the fight they shouldn't have won against Peace and Riot, and, well, that's basically self-explanatory, I think. That's how Mechavore got here. Through luck and stupid driving. Meanwhile, Bucky the Rebooted, taking on Black and Blue. Right at the start, it was very even Stevens, I think. And then they both ended up in the pit. Still no idea who fell first. And it was called for a rematch. And Bucky did struggle a bit more. But this was the push that put an end to Black and Blue over the spikes. And at some point, their hammer stopped working. And they couldn't get away. And then Forced. And they were a lot more dominant here, despite getting flipped over. But Bucky stronger and pushed them down the pit.
Roboteers, stand by.
Mechavore with the lethal flywheel, and Bucky the Rebooted with the clamping, gnawing teeth, and that very effective wedge.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Again, we saw them before in Battle of the YouTubers, and they got torn apart by High AF in the very first round, but look at this. They're doing very well here at the heat final, and they're holding their own against Mechavore, pushing them against the wall, and Mechavore doesn't really seem to know how to respond. The floor flipper goes up, the wrong time, like usual, and Mechavore spinning around, hoping to do something, but they're not going to do anything to that front side of Bucky the Rebooted, who's slammed Mechavore to the wall and pinning them there. And Bucky coming back to try again, as is Mechavore. They're causing sparks, but they're not really causing any damage to Bucky the Rebooted. And that's starting to be a bit of a worry for Mechavore. And now, look at that! Is something up with their wheel? I think it is. I think one of the tires has gone from one of their wheels. And that will cause problems. And off comes the other one. And that's definitely going to cause a problem for the drive. And that'll seriously affect the weaponry. Look at this. The snipe shot taking off the tire. And then a great strike here. And off comes the weapon of Bucky the Rebooted. And with that gone, not only has Bucky lost their weapon, but they've lost their self-rating mechanism. Bucky trying to drive away. They do have 2 additional wheels hidden inside. They're the real drive motor, the real drive wheels, not the real ones. So they're not really going to cause much of a problem, but Bucky does seem to be in trouble, and they're in even more trouble now. They're stuck on the spike. The spikes are holding them up. And Mecha 4... Oh, Mecha 4's up and over! Well, Bucky has that, I guess. Getting Mecha 4 to go up and over for that attack. Don't really know how to describe it, but I don't think there's any life left in Bucky the Rebooted. There's nothing left. Bucky the Rebooted counted out and immobilized. And it's Mecha 4 going through to the Newblood Grand Finals. A strong run from Bucky comes to an end, and Mecha 4 makes it through to the Grand Finals. The amount of destruction that's about to ensue is going to be fun. But until then, take care, and I'll see you next time. Farewell.